do motorcycle trips. You know, we have just this little tiny motorcycle. It's a 250 cc, and so we like to take trips around around nature, into the mountains or hill country in Pennsylvania. Well, we came across this ad for this breakfast for bikers, this biker breakfast, right? Somewhere near us. It wasn't that far. It was maybe like 25 miles from us. And we decided, whoa, this is great. We can do a little trip and get a free breakfast. So we did. We rode there on the motorcycle, and as I was driving into the parking lot, I saw all of these Harleys there. And they were these big biker dudes. This was my spy experience right here, right? There was these big biker dudes with the leather and the rivets and the big arms and the tats. You know what I'm talking about, right? And I'm thinking, uh-oh, I'm in the wrong place. And sometimes it's hard to be a guy because, I didn't want to tell my wife. I wanted to, had it just been me, I would have just turned around and driven away. But, we guys, we have our pride issues, With us, it's like, okay, so I can't admit any kind of weakness in front of my woman. And so we're going to go in there. We're going to have that breakfast. But I have to admit, I was very, very uncomfortable, and it was rooted in my fear of others, of people that I had a certain assumption of. Bikers, in my book, were bad news people. They were not people I wanted to ever associate with. So here we go into this, it almost looked like a mess hall, and just very crude tables and wooden tables and chairs, and we sit down there, and it's a very tight situation because it was full. I mean, free breakfast. There was a lot of people there, and so I happened to sit next to one of those biker dudes, big biker dudes, right? And I got to talk to him. And I felt so silly because we talked about so many things we had in common. He had a family and he had children, and we talked about our family and our children. He was a lawyer. I was blown away. I mean, I had a connection with this gentleman. And all of my assumptions and all of my discriminatory thoughts that I had toward bikers in that one moment just all vanished, and I felt very, very silly. How can we take a lesson from all of this, and how can we actually make a difference? And how can we overcome this type of fear of others that we all have? Well, first of all, we need to learn how to appreciate ourselves and actually love ourselves. Because I think a lot of the evil in society is because we haven't learned how to do that. So there's some psychology involved, right? If I don't love myself, if I'm very unhappy with my life, I will not be able to love anybody else or appreciate anybody else. And I think that's probably a good starting point. We need to look into ourselves and really start to appreciate, who God made us to be. Secondly, we need to educate ourselves. We need to take interest in people, especially people that look different and that speak a different language from us, literally and also metaphorically. We need to take an interest in their culture, learn about their life, their work, the way they worship, and just maybe it would help if we actually studied a foreign language. Because as we study a foreign language, and I've discovered this a long time ago, you actually get inside of a culture. You get inside of the way people communicate and think. And it gives you an appreciation for their culture and for their ways of thinking and doing things. Be open to life. Try to have an expectation that as you open yourself up to life and to new experiences and to even dare to walk out onto land that you haven't tread upon to this point, even if it's a little scary, don't just automatically assume the worst. I mean, I know a lot of people that always assume the worst, and that's why they're unable to really open themselves up. They say, oh, if I do that, oh, I know it's going to be a disaster. But don't do that. Don't limit yourself. Open yourself up and expect something good to happen. And sometimes something bad will happen. You know, that's life, and that's okay too. And then you deal with that. But try to have a positive attitude as you open yourself up to new experiences, to new people, to a new culture, to a new language, whatever it is. And then also, on the spiritual side, pray for people, especially for people that you're a little afraid of. You know, had I prayed for my biker friends years ago, maybe I wouldn't have had this kind of hang-up, this kind of fear. So pray for people. Pray for people and remind yourself of our common spiritual bond that we have. We are all created by the same God. We're siblings. Also, try to be non-judgmental toward others. And I know that's something we all struggle with because it sort of comes natural to us to be judgmental. But try not to do that. Try to suspend judgment and say, well, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Or say, well, I'm not going to make a judgment at this point. I know usually I do, but I'm just going to be open. I'm just going to be open and do some fact-finding before I make any kind of judgment. So that would help too. And then always look for the common human experience that you have with others. Because as you approach them, as you talk to people, you will discover very soon that deep down you have the same desires and the same fears. Because we share a common humanity. And learn how to really appreciate the differences. And the diversity, because we've heard last week that God is a God of diversity. God created us very diverse, created this world to be very diverse and colorful and loud, and we need to learn how to appreciate diversity and differences in other people. And only if we can do that will we truly be able to celebrate diversity, the diversity that God has created all around us and even within.